Welcome back to another episode of Important Miscellaneous Talks. I'm your host, Gospel Crossfield, and today we have a very legendary guest with us. Please introduce yourself.
Damn, that was fast. I don't know if I can talk as fast as you, but I'm gonna try, man. It's Omar Gooding. What's good with it?
So, Mr. Gooding, what age did you start acting?
9.
9. How was that for you?
Um, okay, so starting off at that earlier age, how was it for me? It was normal. People say, how's it to be an actor? How's it to have famous parents or brother that wins an Oscar and this and that? It's just the way of the world. It didn't seem out of the ordinary to me because I didn't have other kids to like compare it to. Like, you mean your daddy ain't on TV today, or your dad ain't singing, or you know what I mean? So,
Mhm.
um, yeah, it was very normal.
Where are you from originally?
I was born in Pacoima, California. Now, my
Uh,
my my father and mother were born in Harlem. My brother and sister were born in the Bronx, and then they moved to California. And my dad got that phone call. Uh, you know what I'm saying? Get another job. You got another mouth to feed on the way. Hello, and here I was.
So, how did school work with that? I always wondered.
Yeah, what you do is you get your assignments. If you go to a regular school, you let them know you get a work permit. You got to maintain at least like a C plus average, um, and then you apply for a work permit. And once you're granted that, you just it depends on your workload. I mean, when I started, like I said, I started at 9, um, 10, 11. It wasn't until 12 that I had like a steady job, but I landed a series role, a regular series role on Wild and Crazy Kids. But that filmed in the summer, so that didn't affect school at all.
Oh,
The next show was Hanging with Mr. Cooper, which was 5 years. It took me through like, all the way to high school. Um, and that it was kind of off and on schedule. Like I would be at school some days and then I would not. You know what I mean? But like most of the time I would be at school. Then I'd tell the teachers, I'm gonna be out for, X amount of days. Can I get my assignments for the week? And they would comply. And then I just do the work at school. And we'd have a on-set teacher that would help you with your work. And then
wow.
you would just turn in the assignments at the end of the week.
with with being a child star, like how does it work? Like, um, your parents have to sign off on everything, and like I always wondered, like, when being a child star, do you get paid directly, or does it go to the parent and then they distribute it to you? Like, how does that process work?
You're a little hard to hear, but I got the gist of what you're saying. I don't know if you need to get closer to the mic. Um, Yeah, I mean, basically, before you turn 18, you should set up a trust fund. You would get about half your money while you work. The other half goes into a trust fund that you can't touch till you're 18. And then your parents, you're a kid, so they kind of allocate the funds to you. Here's your allowance. Mama, did I make 10,000 this week? Mama made 10,000 this week. You get 75 cents, and you may get a candy bar. But no, yeah. So the parents definitely govern your finances till you turn 18 or 21, depending on how you set the trust up.
In high school, did you expect at that particular point in time that this is what you were going to do for the rest of your life, acting, or did you have a backup plan?
No, no. um I would say I've always been an entertainer. I had a father who was Cuba Gooding Sr, the main ingredient. He had a big hit in the 70s. And back then, when he was a singer, but he was an entertainer. You were entertained when you do music. So it was in the blood. My mother was also a singer back in the same day. She was signed to a label as well. But then when she met my father, she decided to be a homemaker, raise his kids while he went out and kind of got the money and so forth and so on, and we traveled and whatnot. So it was always in me. It was there. There was no denying it. When I was in the 4th grade, I remember I did a talent show. It was like a lip sync for Dougie Fresh in the show, and that's when I kind of got bit by the rapping bug as well as acting. But I always knew I was going to be an entertainer. When what the story goes, what I did is my brother, who's 9 years older than me, he took classes and knew what his dream was to be an actor. And he had an agent. And one day I was riding along with him and he said, yo, run in there and grab the script for me from my agent's office. And I'll go in, grab the script. And the agent sees me for the first time and I'm smiling and bubbling. Hey, I'm Cuba's brother and I'm here to pick up a script. And he's like, you're Cuba's brother? Oh my God, you have a great smile. You ever think about going and acting yourself? And I was like, not really. She's like, well, ask your parents to see if we can send you out on some stuff, And God bless her, R.I.P. Corley Jr. Agency, and she represented everyone. She represented a lot of little people and oddities and people that had different type of talents and whatnot. So, you know, African Americans, that was big for her. She didn't have but like 2 clients, so she sent us out on everything. You know, I'd go in to walk in the rooms and it'd be a bunch of white kids in there, and they look at me like, "You lost, brother?" Like, no, you know, audition. You know what I'm saying? And I always, you know, my parents and my family, they never talk baby talk to me. You know what I mean? And because we were entertainers in an industry, we always learned to articulate. My father was a singer, so it was all about enunciating and you know, everything was, you know, don't be, what did you say, boy? No, this is the correct word. This is how you speak. You know, so since I learned to speak well at a young age, that helped me land these roles that were not particularly for an African American kid. But I'd walk in there, you know, comb my hair, walk in, "Hey, hi, I'm Omar Gooding." And they go, "Oh, wow, he speaks clearly. We can understand him. Yes, you got the job." You know, and then it just, you know, it took off. It took off at an early age for me. So I always knew. By the time I got to high school, I had already done Wild and Crazy Kids as a series regular. I was doing Hang with Mr. Cooper as a series regular. And right after high school, it folded right into Smart Guy. You know, so I did Wild and Crazy Kids for 3 years, Hanging with Mr. Cooper for 5 years, and then the next immediate 3 years was was Smart Guy. And then look up, I'm 24 years old. You know what I mean?
Right.
And then, you know, oh yeah, that was it.
Coming from a famous family, did it make it easier for you to land gigs, or was it more so like he kind of has to prove himself still?
That's a good question. Easier because it was in the blood. You know what I mean? It's not like, for me, you know, it's funny. I was think about things like that a lot lately, especially when I do all these interviews lately. It's like it feels like you have to either have it or not, especially for an actor. You know, so I meet friends, people like, "Oh, I can do that," and then you give them a shot, and they be like, "Hey, it's easy, you think, huh?" You know, so many things involved in staying in character and you know, memorizing the lines and being able to do it and so forth and so on. So, but I know what you're getting at. I just wanted to get a little deeper with it. But my name, my father's name didn't help in acting. You know what I mean? My brothers did. You understand me? Because once he won the Oscar, you know, a lot of people don't associate, you know, if my name was Omar Gooding Jr., then it would make sense when they say, "Oh, Cuba Gooding Jr. Oh, Omar Gooding Jr., you're his brother." No. But when you see Cuba Gooding Jr. and they read my name, Omar Gooding, they go, "Any relation to the," yeah, I say, "Yeah, that's my brother." "Oh my God, I love him," you know, and then it's an icebreaker. You know what I mean? So thank God I had talent, because it would only suck if I was whack. Just be honest, keep it a buck. If I was terrible and they said, "Oh, that's your brother? Well, good luck." And then I read and they be like, "We got all the talent in this family." You know what I mean? Then it would have been a problem. But was it easier for me? Yeah, it was easier as an icebreaker, but I still had to show and prove. Coming from a background of doing sitcoms, right, in the 90s, it was harder to cross over into theatrical, in getting cast for roles in movies where they would take you seriously as a serious actor when you're used to doing this vaudeville kind of, you know, TV acting so much. You know what I mean? So my big break in the crossover was John Singleton when he called me, because he saw me in a small bit role that I had in a film and wanted to cast me in Baby Boy. But you know, then the proving myself process really began, and I was able to pull through that. So it was good times.
Good.
Were you your brother? Oh, they say iron sharpens iron. You guys ever in?
He asked if you're ever in competition with your brother.
No, I mean, no. There's not a time, a big competition. I guess only in the fans' eyes. I mean, it's never been a competition for me. Because again, there's a big gap in our age. So, you know, he was like the era right before mine. You know what I mean? He was a breakdancer, I was a rapper, you know, so it's like he was the big brother. I'm on my way out. See you later. I'm the little brother. Can I tag along? Can I go? That type of thing, you know, but I always looked up to him. I always admired everything. You know, you have a big brother. That's what you want to be like him, that type of thing. But it was never like, I don't know, it just never was competition. It was always love, but we're two alpha males that are two different men, two different lanes. So it's not like, "Yo, I got this thing, make sure you show up so I can help you get on," or "Yo, can you come help me out with this?" or "I need your assistance with that." We just had our own paths. You feel me?
Yeah.
No, I just, there was never a time where it was just like, "Oh, I got to outdo him." Like,
Because, correct me if I'm wrong, there's a 9-year gap between you guys, right?
Exactly.
So like when he's 19, you're 10. So I'm not gonna compete with my you know teenage
Yeah.
brother. So
Exactly.
you mentioned how it can sometimes be hard to make that transition from comedy to be taken more serious.
Right.
Did you feel like you had to break out of the comedy mold to be taken more seriously? And did you
Yeah.
find that transition to be easy?
Yeah. Well, I mean, for me, again, it's all hats off to John Singleton, the late and the great. He saw me in a film where I was in it for 2 seconds, basically, and he said I made a facial expression that showed him that I had it in me to be a serious actor. Now I knew I could do it. In high school, I actually, I competed in high school. We had a DTASC, Drama Teachers Association, competition that happened twice a year. And long story short, the final year, my senior year, I did a solo. I did a monologue that was half comedy, half drama, and I took first place, against all the schools in LAUSD. So I knew I had it in me. You know what I mean? It was just one of those, find the time to prove it. Comedy's working, cool, so be it. If the serious role comes along, I'd go for it. So, I think everything happened. The stars aligned perfectly, good and bad. I went through things, and as a young adult, finding my way into manhood, quote unquote, proving myself. You hear stories about me getting caught with guns in the car and people I hung out with, and then having to apologize on sets for getting caught up and being in the news for that type of thing. And what was going on as a young man, I didn't do the Hollywood thing, like in the sense of hang out with the Hollywood crowd and the Hollywood celebrities. I have my own friends that I feel would have my back if, the proverbial shit popped off. You know what I'm saying? So I hung in that element because, that just is what it was. So, when I did Baby Boy, it was really me just kind of exercising demons and getting stuff off my chest that I could do without going to jail. We get in the street altercations and things like that. I got to be like, I got to bite my tongue and slide out the back way and let the other dudes handle, you know what I mean? But in this, I was able to be like, it also goes to choosing roles for me. I choose roles that I feel that I would fit best, that I would do justice. I stay in my lane. Now I'm an actor, so I can act, but I also say it's got to be a part of me that I can bring to the role so that it makes it a little bit easier for me. I feel in another life that could have been me. In any role that I've taken, that could have been me if circumstances were different. You understand what I mean? So in that regard, it's all about just how you look at it and how you approach the role.
You mentioned before how you kind of had a rough upbringing. There was a point in time where your family was homeless. You had to live in a car. So
Mm-hmm.
what was the turning point for your family towards stability?
Um, Personally, honestly, it was when I landed Wild and Crazy Kids. Now,
Interesting.
yeah, because again, my brother, the Gap, my father was never really home. Okay, because this is the story. He had a big hit in the '70s, around '72. Right, everybody plays the fool, just don't want to be lonely. Song went all the way up to #2 on the charts. It's a very big deal. A lot of money, a lot of cars, good stuff. Everything was great. When I was born in '76, he went to Africa against the wishes of the government because they didn't want our entertainers out there performing during apartheid and so forth and so on. But he went out there anyway and said, performed and saw his people in the homeland and so forth and so on. When he came back, he was blacklisted. They pulled all his music. He had to start over. So he, wasn't getting record spins. He wasn't getting show gigs, this and that and the third. So that's when we started losing finances. We lost homes, we lost properties, so forth and so on. And the move from New York, where they were all from, to California, that's when everything kind of, we were there for maybe 5 years. We had enough money to kind of sustain. And then when it kind of hit rock bottom, it was time for him to really not be home. He had a lot of show dates and tour dates and stuff. But when I was born, when I came out, that's when it turned. So my parents, they didn't divorce until I was like around 10 or 11, but they were, kind of separated. So my mother, my brother, my sister, myself, and a Great Dane, we all moved back in with my mother's parents in the high desert in California. And we stayed there for about as long as we could. So my grandfather said, look, you got to go. You know what I mean? That boy looked like he wanted to be an actor. Take him to Hollywood, make it happen. So by any means, she took a checkbook and a vehicle and packed it up, and we hit the road. You know, she wrote bad checks. We bounced from hotel to hotel. Sometimes we slept in the car. She got a job right near Hollywood at a Broadway, and she would always pray. She was a praying mom. She said, "One day I'll get a job at Broadway." She finally got the job. Then we were able to get like a better hotel kind of situation. You know what I mean? And then she said, one day I'll get a job at Nordstrom, which was like the better department store. You know what I mean? So once she got that, she was able to afford rent for an apartment. Then we got to the apartment. Now my brother's able to get better jobs, and he's doing all type of gigs. Like, you know, back in the day, he was like St. Elsewhere and 227 and Amen and all. He was doing all these little shows. And then he got this big break in Boys in the Hood, which allowed him to move out. You know what I mean? But then he started a family immediately. So his shift, who is he helping out? He has to take care of his family. You know what I mean? He's got a wife, brand new baby, boom, that's that. So that's not helping us. You know, Pop's still out doing his thing. So we're still kind of, you know, just kind of hanging in there. And then I landed Wild and Crazy Kids, and my mother was able to quit her job and become my full-time manager. And I was able to, you know, essentially take care of the bills with her commission, plus, you know, what she took. Like I said, she holding all the money. No, but yeah, so that's how it went.
What? Good.
It seemed like mother really spoke things into existence.
Absolutely.
And
That's dope.
Was faith a big part of your upbringing?
Absolutely. My mother was saved. I believe it was the year I was born, or like right before I was born, which is so interesting because my my brother and sister have a different story of their upbringing. Like, you know what I mean? She was secular, she wasn't Christian, born again. You know, smoking cigarettes and things like, yeah, I can't even see that with my mama. You know, but yeah. This is all I knew. You know, I knew we were singing in the car on the road. We would pray. We would go from shelters. We went from homeless shelters and then Sheepfold, which is like a Christian housing that we would go to that was out in Tustin. We kind of made our way in here. And yeah, she was very, very, very strong religious woman, but you know, it was the new Christianity in her mind. You know, my brother and sister were kind of always looking like, what is going on here? Who is this woman? You know what I mean? Where I was just like, this is all I know. Amen. You know what I mean? So, and then my father kind of dealt with a different situation where his father was an atheist, really, and his mother went from Christianity to Muslim back to Christianity. So there was a lot going on over on that side. You know what I mean? And my mom was just, you know, stuck to her guns the whole way through. But yes, that was faith was a huge part of my upbringing and my career.
At what age did you do Wild and Crazy Kids?
12. I did Wild and Crazy Kids. I landed did from 12 to 15. Hang with Miss Cooper, 15 to 20, and then Smart Guy, 20 to about 23, 24.
So when you were 12 years old and you were basically the breadwinner of the family, did you feel any added pressure?
Not at all, because I didn't see the bread. I just no. Not like I was kind of here's for the rent and here's for the no. Give me that money, boy. No. It was never pressure because it was never difficult. My brother always said, as long as you're having fun, keep it up. But you know, and he would always kind of say this, and it would bother me like in young adulthood. You can always just quit and go get a job somewhere else. It's great. I'm in this, but you can always just switch your hair. I was like, how? How the hell am I gonna be working at Blockbuster if I was that guy on Wild and Crazy? Like, no. But anyway, I digress. Yeah, but there was never really pressure like that. You know, it seems like it. But my mother was good at masking. You know, yeah, you got the check, but don't get out. Don't get beside yourself now.
I'm still your mother.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, being a part of Hollywood, did you meet genuine people that you have a long-lasting relationship to this day?
Sure. Like Jason Weaver, like John Marshall Jones, who was the father on the show. You know, these, but it's a few. You know what I mean? It's a couple guys there, but a lot of them, you know, that's why I was kind of touched on it earlier. I didn't do the Hollywood thing. I kind of saw through it early, and I was just like, really? Like, no, thank you. You know what I mean? So, you know, the friends that I've had friends and family members that have been with me from day one, obviously, but not really in Hollywood. You know what I mean?
So is Hollywood as fickle as they say? Because it's something that you hear amongst people all the time. What Hollywood or LA, like, when you come here, it changes you. It changes your surroundings, people around you. It's like, but like you said, you didn't really, get into the hype. But is it really as fake as people say?
Absolutely, 1000%. You got to be aware of that when you come here, or it'll mess you up. I talk all the time with people who say, "Man, I can't believe it's like this and this and that." Da, 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 da. I'm like, didn't you know coming in? Because you should have. I've got sad, awful story. Remember Merlin Santana? He was a big star. His brother was on. He had his own sitcom and movie career going on, and he was shot multiple times in the head in these streets, man. He came from New York to come out here, and he would always ask me questions about stuff. So, how is it? Do you think this show's gonna go? I just landed Steve Harvey show. You think this is gonna go? I'm like, yeah, man. Blah, blah. And I watched things unfold, and I gave my advice to the best of my ability. But it's easy to get sucked up in it, So I like to talk to people that ask me for advice and stuff, and let them know it's like there's not a scenario where you have to do something. That's just, I think it's a common misunderstanding where people are like, well, this is my shot. I mean, if you only get one shot, knock it off. It shouldn't be that much pressure where you think I have to wear the dress or put the lipstick, or I have to get on the casting couch and sleep with it, or I have to do these drugs or they're not going to accept me. That's just not true. It's not true. It's out there. It's definitely there. The devil's alive. Hell yeah. You go door number 1. Oh shit. Just don't go in the door. Choose the other door, man. I mean, I guess I don't know. To me, I was always strong-willed and I was not a follower. So that's why I didn't go, Hollywood, I got a Hollywood party. Good for you. I'll be at the house. Y'all come see me after. That's just how I was built. That's just how I was built, so I was able to avoid that stuff. But even women, I talk to, she's like, oh man, it's like it's so hard to be this and that, and then they perceive you as one way, and then they want to. It's like, look, you can lead a brother on, and then take your ass home. Trust me. Sometimes guys just want to be around pretty women. You don't have to do. I went upstairs. He said we were just gonna change. What? Why'd you go upstairs? Say, I'll see you. Like, you know what I mean? It's really not rocket science, but people make it seem like, well, you have to do that, But there are people that manipulate. That's the problem. It's the middlemen, the snakes, the people without talent. They get paid off the people with talent. The people, oh, we got to get some women up here. Cool, I got it. Yo, you want to get down and you follow me, blah, 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 blah. You know what I mean? That person, they think, well, I don't know. I thought this is what everybody does. So this person said, you know what I mean? So you got to be careful. But it's definitely out there. So you just got to be cognizant of
it. On paper, it seems as though you've had a rough childhood, but you always have an energetic glow about you. Where does that stem from?
Yeah, man, it's funny too, because it's like when I think of the things and the incidents, living in the car and our dog being in the hotel, and they dropped the dog off and he was dead when we got there, and we had to carry him to the dumpster, and I'm crying. Like the individual things that happened when I think, like, shit, that shit was fucked up. But I was always smiling. I always, like my brother and sister, I think it was harder on them because they were a little bit older. You feel me? Like you're 10 and 11 and you got to leave the toys and run. We got to get out of here before the landlord kick it, or the manager comes in and like, leave that shit and go. And I was just like, cool, we'll get more stuff. I was like, I meet new friends every other week. This is great. Who are you? How you doing? My name's Omar. And they're just like, oh, I miss my friends from such and such. I'm like, man, forget them. We got new friends. Look at them. That's how I was. I was just that kid. It was just like, hey, I'm with it. What's next? What's new? Okay, this is where we're at now. Fine. What new hotel? We go into the hotel room. My brother and sister walking in like, oh, new hotel. And I'm like, oh, look at this bed. You know what I mean? So I think it just was my age when it all hit. You know what I mean? If that shit happened now, I was like, oh shit, it sucks. You know what I mean? It would, because I know what I've lost. You know what I mean? But it's kind of like you don't miss it if it's never there.
Got you. So after Boys in the Hood drops, and you see the success of your brother, did you ever feel like you had to step up, and did your life change?
That's a good question. But no, man. And it's funny though, because for me, I always felt like it was a we thing. If my brother has success, that's dope. We did it. I felt like we're the same. The family's good. Just like when he won the Oscar, we won an Oscar. Not just and the Oscar was a little different. The Oscar was, I'm a fan of the art. I'm entertainer, but I watch movies. over and over again. I listen to music over and over again, you know, so it's I pay attention. When my brother won an Oscar, he was one of like a handful of black people that won Oscars. You understand me? So we won an Oscar. I was so excited for that. It wasn't like, oh shit, my brother won one. All right, shit, I got to get one now. Like, no, they don't give Oscars out like that. You know what I'm saying? We got one. It was like he's number 10, 11, or 12. Like, you know, it wasn't until just recently when everybody's getting them now. But no, but at the time, it was it was an accomplishment, but it was like that door shut. Now what else can we get? Not like, oh, I got to get one. Boys in the Hood, it was just like, okay, cool. He put on, but it was normal to me. My dad's a huge star. I would go out and watch him perform in front of 1,000 people, women screaming and dropping, fainting and all this shit. And I'm just like, this is what life is. That's dope. But I wasn't like, oh man, I got to get up there for that same feeling. I hope I can match his, you know, stardom or whatever. My brother's got a movie. Oh, that's great. I'm an actor too. I do comedy. You know, they don't let us do movies like that. He's a serious actor. I do comedy. And then it wasn't until, you know, Baby Boy, when I went, oh shit, I'm doing drama too. All right, now it's my turn to shine. But again, that stuff I never let get in my head. Like, my brother did Boys in the Hood, so Baby Boy's got to be better than that because they're going to compare it and that. No, it's very simple. If you look at it, Boys in the Hood, he was Trey, the guy that got out the car. I was Sweet Pea, the blast. Like, you know what I mean? It was just two different mindsets, but it's just never been a competition like that with us, you know?
Oh, yeah, the question. So would you recommend your children to go through the same Hollywood path, or would you recommend them take the more of a traditional?
Well, my hat's off, man. Y'all got some good questions. So with me, with raising my kids, and it's funny too, because at first you go, you know, hell no. I do it. I don't want you to have to do it. You know, you need stability. You got to stay in school, make sure you get a degree, blah, blah, blah. I want you to get into finances, so forth and so on. It's funny because my wife, she's half Asian, and they have a tradition when they're 1 year old where you set out different things and you see what they crawl to. And then that maybe is their path, you know, basketball, calculator, a microphone, and, you know, so forth. And my oldest son went and picked up the mic, and I was like, oh, that's great, you know. But it doesn't matter. You know what I'm saying? It's for one, with acting, especially with Goodings, if it's in you, it just your path is laid out for you. It's in you. I'm looking at them now going, you already know. One of them gonna be in sports, the other one gonna be in front of something. You know what I mean? Camera or whatever it is. So I would never. The cool thing is I would never say, no, don't do that. I did this. Why not? I have a wealth of knowledge to give you on the best way to do it. If you choose to be an actor or an entertainer, then watch this. My father was different. I'm trying to change how things were done from generation to generation. You got to think, we're descendants of slaves. We used to get beat to death. So the fact that we and they hit our kids and beat, it was just what they knew that was passed down from generation to generation. We have to stop that abuse and learn how to raise our kids without beating their ass, beat no toddler to death. You know what I mean? You have to change that in order to make it happen. My father was never home. I stayed my ass here. Daddy's working. I'll do this podcast, and then I'm gonna go pick you up, and I'm gonna stay here as long as I can. And now we got FaceTime and all this stuff. I can stay connected with you. You know what I mean? So my dad, you know, it was funny. He passed, and now I'm getting into the music industry. But there's so many things that I'm learning. Like, damn, why did he tell me this shit? He was just busy doing him. That's all. It just was what it was. But I like, you know, for me, if my kids are in music, in any time of entertainment industry that I have a wealth of knowledge about, not only am I all for it, but they're going to be very well prepared as they go into it.
Which role would you say was your favorite out of all the roles you've done?